Alright, welcome to our next video. We are jumping all the way to section 8, which is applications of right triangle trigonometry. To me, it just makes sense to, now that we've reviewed some of the basics of right triangle trig, to actually use it for a little bit. The first part of this video is actually going to look at just how do we read different sorts of instructions, and how do we draw a picture based on that. So, first topic, I guess, is just the idea of what is a bearing. Whenever an instruction gives you something from, saying the bearing of a ship or of a plane is this, it means that you start thinking about moving from straight north, and you go in a, well, I gotta think this, in a clockwise direction from there with your angle measure. And so that's really what part A is about, and then B, C, and D are just other ways that we can work with that. A lot of this part of our notes comes from section 1 actually, but I think it makes sense to include it right here. So let's pretend that you're traveling 10 miles on a bearing of 120 degrees. We're not going to really solve anything here. I just want to draw a picture. So because it says bearing, the first thing we want to do is consider going straight north. So something like, let's see, this is kind of our center of our movement. Maybe that's where we're starting from. This is straight north, right? Yeah, that's straight north. I need to go 120 degrees. Well, and I have to go in a clockwise direction. So I'm going this way. This is 90 degrees right here, right? From here to here, a quarter turn, that's 90 degrees. So 120 degrees is just a little bit more that way. So I'm just going to kind of angle something out like this. I'm going to, in my picture for a future lesson, I would say, okay, this is 120 degrees right here. And I went for 10 miles. So I'd say, 10 miles. A lot of arrows there. I probably shouldn't have done so many arrows, but you get the idea. 120 degrees for a length of 10 miles. If you go over to the right there, part B, another sort of instruction could be saying you're traveling south 30 degrees east for a certain distance. And it works very similar to part A. The first part of that says start out going that direction. So for this one, I'm actually going to head south first, and then I'm going to angle from that sort of bearing, from that direction, I'm actually going to angle 30 degrees towards the east. So this is my starting point right here. I would think, first of all, of going in a southerly direction. Okay, but then from there I want to angle 30 degrees to the east. Maybe I should do that in a different color this time. So east is slightly off to the right here. So I have to go 30 degrees this way. So this is going to be my final heading. Something like that. And I just have to note that this was 30 degrees and that the whole distance that I went was 20 kilometers. Okay, that's what I would want my picture to show in the end. 30 degrees from south for a distance of 20 kilometers. Okay, part C. We're walking 300 yards on a compass bearing of south-southwest. Don't use this one that much, but I still think it's useful to go over. So if you have your general, sorry, just get my color set up here, general compass headings, we know that, oops, okay, this would be, just getting some different colors here again. Okay, we have north, we have south, we have west, we have east. Okay, this one is talking about south, southwest. So we also need to think about, well, where is southwest? Southwest is off this way. That means south-southwest would be right in between there. Okay, that arrow right there is south-southwest. That's the actual direction that I'm going. So I guess to stay consistent, maybe I should have done that in red. Okay, that's where we're going. Okay, so a couple things I want to write down. First of all, I want to write down what's that length. Okay, that length was, what we want, 300 yards in that direction. 300 yards. But I also want to think about the angle measure that I have right here. If you guys can see that, but the angle measure I have right here. So I do want you to consider that this whole angle was 90 degrees. That means when I split it in half with the southwest, I take half of 90, so this is 45. And now I just cut it in half again. Half of 45 is 22.5. Okay, so this angle right here was, and we'll just kind of draw a little arrow out there, was 22.5 degrees. Okay, last one. Let's say that we're flying a distance of 200 miles and we're going to go 30 degrees west of north. This one is very similar, in my opinion, to part B. It's basically telling you what to do. You want to start by going straight north. Okay, just the order is a little different, but you're going to start right here. We'll say, oops, helps if I have my pen. Okay, we're going to start right there. We're going to fly straight north, or we're going to think about flying straight north. Okay, but then it says instead of going straight north, we want to angle 30 degrees to the west. Okay, so west is this direction right there. That's our final trip right there. We went a distance of 200 miles. And this angle right in here is 30 degrees. Okay, so that's all good. That's just some basics for using directions. Let's go ahead and just try an application question using this. Okay, so a hiker marches 3,000 feet on a bearing of 10 degrees, then he turns and marches 4,000 feet on a bearing of 100 degrees. How far is he from his starting point? So again, our focus here is just getting pictures more than anything. Let's just think a little bit about where we're going to end up here. If I were to start, okay, let's say that I started right here. Okay, this is due north. I'm going to start off by going on a bearing of 10 degrees. So I'm hardly moving at all off of that, but this, let's just say that this was 10 degrees right there. Actually, I just realized I'm going to need a little bit more room, so I'm going to quickly erase all of that. Okay, I'm going to start more down here. And of course this would pop up. Interesting. Patience is a virtue, right? There we go. Let's do that. Okay. So we are going to start right here. That was straight north. I need to angle 10 degrees on a bearing of 10 degrees, so something like this. Kind of exaggerating that, but this angle right in here was 10 degrees. Okay, then from there, from this point right here, I marched that far. I have now a bearing of 100 degrees. Okay, so 90 degrees would be going this far, right, from here to there. I need to go 100 degrees, so my next one's going to go off something like that. We'll say something like that is sufficient. Okay, we end right there. So my angle for that, this was 100 degrees. Okay, some distances. Different color for that. I knew that this was 3,000 and oops, 3,000. Knew that this was 4,000. And what I want to figure out in the end is the distance from my starting point to my ending point. We'll just call that x. So how do I do that? Well, I need to think a little bit about how angles are related here, thinking back to geometry, and I need to realize that these, let's get my highlighter here, I need to realize that these lines here are parallel. They're north-south lines. That's going to be very, very helpful. I just have to figure out different ways that I can use that. One thing that kind of jumps out at me is that if these are parallel lines and this is a transversal right here, these are, let's see, what do we call it? Those are alternate interior angles, I believe. Is that, something like that, right? I think it's alternate interior angles. But these two angles right here should add up to 180. It should be supplementary. Okay? So if this is 100, that means that this is 170. So first thing I'll do is, let me get my color again. This is 170 degrees. Okay, so if this is 170 and that's 100, if I add this angle in there, I should get a total of 360 because I'm going all the way around a circle. So think about that. If I do 360 minus 100 minus 170, I get 90. And it's set up that way because it's nice right now. This is a right angle. Okay, that's a right angle right there. So here's a right angle. That means this is the hypotenuse. If this is 3,000 and that's 4,000, again a 3, 4, 5 right triangle, that means this is 5,000. So that's our answer to the question. He is 5,000 feet from his starting point. And just to reassure you, we will be doing lots of practice of this in the unit of how do we find angles in pictures like this. Okay, jot down any questions, and we will talk to you in class.